Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a genuinely fascinating yet completely invisible war that is raging right above your head. Every single day there is an intense battle for structural survival happening against the brutal, unforgiving North Texas climate. Most of us never even think about our roof until, suddenly, there's a water stain on the ceiling. But by the time you see that, the perimeter has already been breached. So today, we're going to break down the science, the elements, and the structural defenses of a typical North Texas roof. All right, let's kick things off with a number that honestly blows my mind. 160 degrees. When we talk about extreme weather, we naturally tend to look up at the sky, right? But what's happening right inside your house can be just as destructive. At the absolute peak of a North Texas summer, an improperly ventilated attic can easily hit 160 degrees. That trapped heat literally cooks your asphalt shingles from underneath. It accelerates their aging, causes premature thermal cracking, and basically ruins them. The stakes for your home are incredibly high, and the heat is quite literally on. So, to map out this invisible battlefield, we're going to cover four main fronts today. First, the North Texas weather war. Second, the anatomy of a roof failure. Third, building code to the rescue. And finally, the true cost of roofing. Let's jump into part one, the North Texas weather war, a relentless antagonist. You see, North Texas doesn't just get one flavor of bad weather. It's situated in a geography that gets absolutely hammered by all four seasons. Spring brings these violent hailstorms that just punch right through protective granules and shred your shingles. Then summer hits with 100+ degree heat that bakes the asphalt until it physically curls. Fall introduces intense windstorms that create massive uplift, literally tearing off ridge caps. And winter brings freezing temperatures that lead to really sneaky, destructive ice dams. It is just a continuous year-round cycle of thermal shock and physical battery. But here's the crazy part. The attack isn't just coming from the sky. It's actually coming from the ground directly beneath your feet. Places like Duncanville and the surrounding areas sit on these highly reactive clay soils. Depending on moisture levels, this soil drastically expands and contracts, which causes your home's foundation to shift. And when the foundation moves, the framing of your roof moves right along with it. This silent, invisible stress warps the roof structure, creating microscopic gaps where water can easily penetrate. So it's really a two-front war. And winter weather totally exploits those tiny gaps using a stealthy trick known as an ice dam. Basically, when a freeze hits, melting snow or ice reaches the colder eaves of your roof and refreezes, creating a literal dam of solid ice. The water behind it keeps melting, but because it has nowhere to drain off the roof, it gets forced backward. It defies gravity, creeps up under the shingles, and pours directly into your attic space. It's a brilliant, stealthy infiltration tactic by the winter weather. Which brings us to section 2. Anatomy of a roof failure, the breaking point. So how exactly does all this relentless weather turn into a catastrophic leak in your living room? Well, to understand roof failure, you absolutely have to understand flashing. Flashing is just the metal barriers installed around chimneys, skylights, plumbing vents, and in the roof valleys. Here is the surprising truth. Most leaks actually don't start in the middle of a perfectly laid field of shingles. They happen at the penetrations. Over time, that intense summer heat dries out the sealants and the metal flashing corrodes, or it separates because of that structural shifting we just talked about. Once that flashing fails, water has a direct, wide-open highways straight down your interior walls. And this whole chain reaction just accelerates the second you introduce severe wind into the equation. Say a strong fall storm rolls through and creates uplift pressure. If the shingles were poorly nailed, which, by the way, is super common on older budget installations, entire sections will begin to lift. Even a slight lift breaks the adhesive seal strip. Once that seal is gone, the adhesion fails entirely, moisture gets in, and the raw wooden decking underneath is exposed to the elements. That leads incredibly fast to structural rot. Here is a brutal reality about North Texas. The so-called 20-year shingle is pretty much a myth. The relentless UV exposure here degrades materials at a massively accelerated rate compared to northern climates. When you combine the impact of hail, the intense thermal cycling of really hot days and cool nights, plus that foundation movement we mentioned, a standard 20-year shingle in Duncanville often reaches complete failure at just 15 years. The clock is ticking way faster than you might think. Moving on to section 3, building code to the rescue, the frontline defense. Fortunately, we've got some heavy-duty countermeasures to fight back. A lot of older homes, like those over in neighborhoods near Cockrell Hill Road or Main Street, were built way before modern standards. They often have inadequate fastening and poor venting. But Dallas County's modern building codes, think of them as tactical defense upgrades. Today, a code-compliant installation requires 4 to 6 nails per shingle, arranged in a very specific pattern to stop wind uplift. And they use materials certified to withstand 110-mile-per-hour winds. We aren't just replacing roofs anymore. We are completely reinforcing them to take a beating. Oh, and remember that terrifying 160-degree attic we talked about earlier? Well, this is the specific code requirement that fixes it. Net free ventilation area. The standard mathematically dictates 1 square foot of ventilation for every 150 square feet of attic space. Try to think of your roof like a respiratory system. It literally needs to breathe. It has to inhale cool air through the soffits and exhale all that blistering hot, moisture-heavy air through the ridge vents. If you don't have that perfectly balanced ventilation, you are basically suffocating your house and cooking your own shingles from the inside out. When it's actually time to deploy these new defenses, the replacement process is incredibly structured. It starts with a meticulous attic and exterior inspection to hunt down any hidden rot or flashing failures. Step 2 is a complete tear-off, down to the bare decking, followed by a strict, code-compliant rebuild. That includes laying down proper ice and water barriers in the valleys. And then step 3 is the final inspection and warranty verification. It's a serious multi-day operation to ensure every single weakness is permanently fortified. Which brings us to our final section, Section 4, the true cost of roofing. The economics of defense. Finally, we have to talk about the financial reality of paying for all this armor. A lot of people assume square footage is the only thing that dictates the price, but honestly, that's just the baseline. What really drives the price up are the complexities of the battlefield. Like, does your roof have steep pitches, multiple valleys, dormers? Labor is easily the most expensive part of the whole process. If the crew tears off the old shingles and discovers rotted decking from years of invisible leaks, or if you decide to upgrade to impact-resistant UL 2218 Class 4 materials so you can actually survive the next hailstorm, the economics completely change. It really is an investment in comprehensive protection. And of course, we can't ignore the insurance battleground. Insurance companies are businesses, right? They guard their wallets with the exact same ferocity you want guarding your home. They actively try to minimize payouts. Filing a successful claim requires following incredibly strict timeframes and providing meticulous photographic documentation. If your roof is on the older side, say it's creeping up on that 15-year mark, you're at a really high risk for a depreciated payout or even a flat-out denial. This is exactly why expert negotiation, highly detailed estimates, and solid proof of code compliance are almost always required to get a full restoration without paying thousands out of your own pocket. So all of this leads to the ultimate question you should be asking yourself right now. When was the last time you checked your first line of defense? That invisible war of heat, hail, wind, and shifting soil is happening right above your head. Literally, right now. Please don't wait for a nasty water stain on your ceiling to tell you that your armor has finally failed. Stay proactive, understand the science behind your structure, and keep your home protected. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.